Hi everyone! As you can see from the title, today Eowyn will be making Lembas Bread. We know she's not that great at making stew, but let's hope she does better with baked goods. First, we need to make sure that this dress is at least somewhat more suited for baking. That's better. Great, now let's get started. So about lembas. Tolkien does not provide the exact recipe or ingredients for lembas bread. However, one of the ingredients mentioned for this sweet baked good, brown on the outside and cream colored on the inside, is corn, which is most likely wheat. It doesn't seem to be actual bread, more like a wafer or a cookie, so that's what we're going for. Lembas is also supposed to be very nutritious, so let's keep that in mind when choosing the ingredients. Most recipes that you can find online for lembas use wheat flour, sugar, and butter in varying quantities. Sometimes other stuff, but these are the main ingredients. And it makes sense. The bread is sweet, hence the sugar, wheat flour to make the dough, and butter to bind it all together, plus provide some fats for satiation and nutrition. I decided to make my lembas bread the following way. I'm using plain flour plus some finely ground oats. Oats are some of the most nutrient-dense foods out there. They're rich in carbs and fiber, and also a good source of protein and fats, at least in comparison to other grains. I'm not using just oats though, because when I tested the recipe that way, it turned out a little bit too crumbly. For sweetener, I'm using coconut sugar, just because it's a slightly healthier alternative to regular sugar, at least so they make us think. But white, brown, coconut sugar, it's all fine. A pinch of salt. For extra protein and nutrition, I'm also adding chopped nuts. These are peanuts because it's all I had, but feel free to add a more European type of nut so that it feels more like Tolkien's world, or skip nuts altogether. Lastly, butter at room temperature so that it will create that crumbly cookie texture once they are baked. I cut the butter into cubes and then mixed it with sugar and salt. You can't really revolutionize this recipe unless you approach it from a completely different angle and actually make a bread-type dough or something like that, but this is a pretty basic and delicious cookie recipe. Then I added the flour and 2 tablespoons of ground oats. Add that gradually so that your mixture doesn't get too dry because there are too many dry ingredients. Lastly, crush your nuts in a very satisfying way by smashing them with a rolling pin. And then add them to the mix. Don't add too many though, so that your dough doesn't start falling apart. Roll out the dough about 1 centimeter thick and cut out little rectangles or squares, then make an X on top. I made them this big, but you can go for whatever size you want. Just make sure that you adjust the baking time if you do that. I recommend refrigerating them for around 15 minutes or so, just so that they will hold their shape better when you bake them, and so that they won't spread out too much. Put them into a preheated oven at around 180 degrees Celsius and bake for about 10 minutes. Just keep an eye on them so that they don't overbake. And there you have it! Some very nice, delicious lembas bread. So I'm back with my freshly baked lembas breads. This is what they look like. And yeah, I'm ready to try one of these. One of them broke when I was taking them out of the oven, so they're pretty crumbly. But let's give this a try. Very nice, very buttery, just the right amount of sweetness for my personal taste, but really good. I would highly recommend you make these, especially if you're trying to score yourself an Aragorn, you know. Maybe skip the stew and go straight to these, make him a batch of these. Trust me, he will not refuse them. But now for the ultimate test.